Alright, let's talk about Nintendo, because honestly, the last few weeks have been a masterclass in how to completely fumble your own momentum while also trying to choke the life out of innovation in gaming. So here's the deal. The Nintendo Switch 2, fantastic console, backwards compatibility, better hardware, all the promise of finally playing your old favorites at higher resolution, better frame rates, plus new third-party games that just weren't possible on the original Switch. On paper, it should be a no-brainer upgrade, except Nintendo. Instead of fueling that hype, instead of giving developers the tools to make games for the Switch 2 right now, they're being stingy. Like, really stingy. Digital Foundry just did a podcast where they talked to developers at Gamescom, and apparently a bunch of studios, including AAA ones, still can't even get their hands on Switch 2 dev kits. Imagine that. Developers who want to make Switch 2 games can't, because Nintendo won't give them the hardware. Some devs were literally told, just ship on Switch 1 and rely on backwards compatibility. What? That's like when Don Matrick told people who didn't like Xbox One being online only to just buy a 360. It's insulting. The whole point of a new console is to make the best version of your game on it. Why on earth would you discourage that? And it gets worse. Because while Nintendo is out here bottlenecking third-party support, they're also doing something way more sinister on the legal side. They've started patenting fundamental game mechanics. Not characters, not logos, mechanics. 2 patents just got granted. One for summoning allies to fight on your behalf, and another for mounting or dismounting creatures. I wish I was joking. Summons and mounts. Stuff that's been in games since the 90s. Think Elden Ring, think World of Warcraft, think literally any game with a horse. Nintendo didn't invent this. They just saw it was popular, rushed to patent it, and now they own it. And here's the kicker. They don't even need to win these fights in court. The threat is enough. Because if you're a small indie studio prototyping a companion system, suddenly you're not asking, will this be fun? You're asking, will this bankrupt us? Can we even risk releasing this mechanic without Nintendo's lawyers breathing down our necks? That's how creativity dies. Not with a court ruling, but with the fear of one. And the timing here? Oh, it's no coincidence. Right after Palworld exploded, 15 million copies sold, over 2 million concurrent players, Nintendo started filing these patents. Pocket Pair, a tiny indie studio, dared to innovate on Pokemon's stale formula. Survival mechanics, base building, actual combat, and the market loved it. Did Nintendo think, wow, maybe we should finally innovate Pokemon? Of course not. They filed lawsuits. They forced Pocket Pair to gut mechanics like the ball-throwing system after launch, because, surprise, Nintendo filed a patent on that too. This is the pattern. Nintendo sees innovation, ignores it for 20 years, then sues the first studio that actually delivers it. They did the same thing back in 2018, suing Colapple over a virtual joystick. Dragging your thumb on a touchscreen to move. Yeah, Nintendo patented moving. Colapple had to pay them over $30 million. And the message was clear. Nintendo doesn't just own Mario's mustache, they own the concept of moving left and right. Meanwhile, they're nuking fan projects left and right. AM2R, Pokemon Uranium, dozens of others. Games made by fans as love letters, not competition. Projects that Nintendo should have been making themselves. But nope, DMCA Annihilation, gone. And here's where these two stories collide. On one side, you've got devs begging for Switch 2 kits so they can actually make games people want to play. On the other, you've got Nintendo patenting game mechanics and suing anyone who dares to innovate. They're not fueling the Switch 2's success, they're strangling it. Think about what that means for the future. Right now, some indie team somewhere just deleted their companion combat system because they can't afford to risk Nintendo's lawyers knocking on the door. Another studio reworked their mount traversal system because the legal risk wasn't worth it. Every time that happens, gaming loses something. We get one less weird mechanic, one less creative system, one less reason to be excited. Instead, we get more safe sequels. More corporate-approved, committee-designed junk. Because when risk equals potential lawsuit from Nintendo, no one takes risks. And it's not like this benefits players either. Look at the Switch 2 right now. How many upgraded versions of old games do we actually have? Hardly any. Sure, a handful of patches. A Square Enix port here or there, but nothing close to the flood of enhanced titles we were expecting. Why? Because Nintendo won't hand out the dev kits. It's backwards. Instead of empowering developers to make the Switch 2 the best place to play, they're keeping everyone in the dark while also planting legal landmines around basic mechanics. That's not protecting IP. That's a siege. That's Nintendo using lawyers to keep competitors in check instead of making better games. And look, even EA didn't try to patent the Battle Royale genre when Fortnite blew up. They just made Apex Legends. Valve didn't patent digital game distribution. Epic didn't patent the idea of game engines. But Nintendo? They're out here trying to own the act of pressing a button. So yeah, Nintendo's first-party games are still masterpieces. They always will be. But the way they're handling the Switch 2 rollout and the way they're using patents as weapons sends a clear message. They don't want competition. They don't want innovation. They want control. And if you care about gaming, about weird, experimental, risky, creative games, you have to see how dangerous that is. Because right now, somewhere out there, a team just killed their dream project. Not because it wouldn't be fun, but because Nintendo might sue them for daring to try. That's not how gaming should work.